Hey guys, this is just a quick video to show you how to do a street scene in one-point perspective. So some of this should be a little bit familiar, some of it new, but here we go. So first off, the materials you need. Paper, obviously, pencil, eraser, a ruler, and optional is this triangle. It's really helpful, but you can easily do it without one too. So, step one, decide which way your paper is going to go. It's going to go up and down, portrait style, or side to side for landscape style. Either way will work, but for the street scene we're working on, it'd be a little bit better if you go portrait style, because you'll end up being able to fit more buildings on it this way. So next you need to draw the horizon line. The horizon line is where the ground and the sky meet. You probably remember that. And it's really important that it runs parallel to the top and the bottom of your paper. You can make it farther up and have more ground. You could make it farther down and have more sky. You could do it near the middle and have it about equal. Since I want you to be able to fit lots of buildings on yours, I am going to put it up a little higher. To make sure that it's parallel, remember parallel means that if the two lines went on forever, they would never cross. To make sure that this line is parallel to the top and the bottom, just put your ruler right on the edge and make sure this edge is flush with the edge of your paper. Flush means that it's right in line with it. So make sure that's right in line and draw your horizon line. You'll want to draw most of your lines kind of lightly so you can erase them later if you need to. Next, you need to put the vanishing point in. We'll put ours near the middle, but you could also shift it if you don't want it right in the center. So you've got the horizon line, the vanishing point. Next are the orthogonals. An orthogonal is a line that goes to your vanishing point. So these orthogonals will be the street. It needs to hit your vanishing point. So if you imagine the street, the farther away from you it gets, the closer to the vanishing point it gets, and things shrink until they look so small they start to vanish, hence the name vanishing point. Now would also be a great time to add a sidewalk if you want a sidewalk. So kind of look at it, decide how wide you want your sidewalk. And then if you want the two sides to match just right, you can measure down here. So I have about 1/2 inch. So if I put it down here, I can put a little mark where 1/2 inch is, and then just connect the dots, the mark and the vanishing point here. Okay, making sense so far, I hope. And then if you would like lines in your sidewalk, you put your ruler parallel to the edge of your paper. So again, just make sure the edge is flush and you'll have it parallel. All of your lines in this one-point perspective are going to either go horizontal, like this, straight across your paper, parallel to the top and the bottom. They could go vertical or up and down, which would be parallel to the sides of your paper, or they'll slant towards your vanishing point. If you have a line that's slanting another direction, not towards this vanishing point, it's probably incorrect. So again, if you think about as things get farther away from you, it tends to look like they're shrinking or getting smaller. So these lines that I'm drawing should start to get closer together. Make sure you're keeping it flush to the edge, and they're going to start getting closer and closer together. A sidewalk is optional in this, but the more details you have, the better, and it's a pretty easy way to get some detail. So it's going to keep shrinking, getting closer and closer together until at the end, I'm going to skip ahead, but at the end they are going to be so close together that it is going to be hard to tell where one even starts and one ends. So they'll be super close. So you keep going like that. Okay, so imagine that's complete, so we can move on to the next one. So next up, you need to draw in a building. So to make your building, we're going to make the side facing us. So I'm going to call that the face of the building. And then there'll be a street side of the building. To start out with, put your ruler flush with the bottom, because you probably guessed it, we need a line parallel to the side. Start at your sidewalk and draw however tall you want your building. Then we need the top and the bottom of the building. You can make these with your ruler or your triangle. I'll show you both ways. So the top and the bottom need to run flush to the top and bottom of your paper. You can either put your ruler flush to the line you just drew or flush to the side of your paper. So draw however wide you want your building. It can go off the paper if you want. If you are using the triangle, you use the square edge. Don't use the acute angles, the small ones. Use the square edge, and you just put it lined up here with the corner right where you want the corner of your building, and draw it over there. Same way with this line. Line it up the corner where you want the corner of your building, and draw that in. That looks slightly crooked to me, so I'm going to fix that a little bit. It does not look parallel to the side of the building and the side of the paper. So let me redo that. Okay, that looks better. So you can use the triangle, you could use the ruler, you would put it either on that or on the bottom and draw your line in there. So you have a nice rectangle or square. The next step is orthogonals again. So again, we had lines that went straight across or straight up and down, and our slanted ones are going to go to the vanishing point. So every corner you check to see if it can connect. This corner is already connected. This corner, if you line up the corner and the vanishing point, there is nothing in the way. So you can go ahead and draw the line. Draw it pretty lightly because you'll erase some of it. This corner, line it up with the vanishing point. There's nothing in the way, so you can go ahead and draw that one. However, this corner, if we line up this one with the vanishing point, there is something in the way, so we can't draw it. Okay, so we drew the box, we connected the corners we can. Now we need to put in some more straight lines that'll make the side facing the street and the top of the building. So you can do this a couple ways. You can use your ruler, so make sure your ruler's flush with the edge. It'll be running parallel to the side of your paper and the side of your building. If you want this narrow like that, you can do it there. You can do it really narrow, you can do it wider. Just keep this flush with the edge so you're sure you're drawing it straight up and down. So pick a spot for yours, straight up and down. It basically is just a copy of this line, but it's moved farther down. This one will be a copy of this line, but moved farther up. So you've got this kind of upside down L shape. That'll happen again up here. You can do that with your ruler, like this. You just want to make sure this is on the edge and that you line up your corner. You still want a corner here. If you'd rather, you can use your triangle and you keep the corner on this line and just kind of slide it up. It kind of gives you a preview of what it would look like if you put the line there, or you could put it here. If you're using the triangle, just make sure it's still parallel. It doesn't get shifted like that and you draw a crooked building. Okay, so that's your building. You need to get rid of this extra orthogonal here. Don't erase this one because that's part of your sidewalk or your street if you didn't choose to do a sidewalk. So erase those. Okay. And we'll add in a building right next to this building, and then I'll show you how to do an alleyway if you want an alleyway also. So right next to it, you'd line it up right on this line you just drew, because these two buildings share a side. So we'll make a taller building right next to it. So you go up higher. And remember on this one we drew this side first. that side's going to be here. Half of it we can't see because it's blocked by this building, but we'll still do the same steps. So we need to draw on the top of this building. You can line it up here, or you can line it up with this edge, but make sure it's lined up so we're getting it parallel. Draw how wide you want your building. You can do a similar width, you can go wider. It's completely up to you. Line it up with the bottom of the paper or the top of the paper. And go down till you run into something. Don't draw over a building. So here's this side peeking out over that building. All the rest of the steps are the same. Connect your corners. So we've got this corner. And we have this corner. This corner's connected. There would be a corner somewhere in here, but obviously that building's in the way, so we won't connect that. Then we draw on the side. I like to line it up first and kind of slide it over how wide I want it. Make sure that this is lined up. Draw on the side. Same thing with the top. I'll line it up and drag it up until it hits that corner. Then this is lined up also. Draw on the top. Erase. Okay. Okay, so what if you wanted a shorter building? I'll show you how to do that. So a shorter building, you just need to put a little mark where you want it to be. So say I want the top right here. Normally the next step is to draw on the face of the building, like these. Well, you can't see the face of that building. You can just really lightly put, if you could see it, if you could see through that building, maybe your building would be something like this. So the next step was connecting the corners. So we need to connect the top two corners. So here's one. The other corner would be here. And I told you you can't draw through a building. So normally you would just skip it, but we need to see that little shorter building poking out. So here's the corner. I'm going to connect it, but I'm going to have to erase some of it. Okay, since I can't really see through this building, I can erase that, anything that's in the way of that building. These other steps are the same. Line it up, line this up, slide it. That's still lined up. So my building's here. I can line it up here with that, or just line it up on the side. Make sure the corner is there. Okay. And then erase the extra orthogonals flying through the air. Okay, so there's a little building peeking out from behind that one. Okay, I'll show you an alley now, but let's switch to this side. So a quick review of what to do. You put your ruler right on the bottom, make sure it's flush. Start at your sidewalk, draw however tall. Then make sure it's flush with one of the sides of your paper. This one I'll make go off the edge. This is a big building. And this side. So this one went way off the edge of the paper, which is fine. Same thing, connect the corners. That corner's connected. This corner I'll connect. And let's pretend this is a really big building, like it would end way over here. So I would just put a little mark, say the building would end right there. I don't know if you can even see that mark on the black edge, but I put a mark right here because I would say my building would go out to there. So I'm lining up my mark and the vanishing point, and go ahead and draw that. Then the same steps. I'll use the triangle on this one. Okay, so I'll line it up here, slide it along this line, however big you want it. You need to make sure that it's straight up and down. If you can't tell, then just put your ruler alongside it and see if this is flush or this one is. So that looks good. And I can draw the side and the top at the same time. And there's some erasing to do again. So we erase that. Okay, got that. Then I told you I'd show you an alleyway. So an alley, instead of sharing the side, there's a gap between two buildings. So we have to go all the way back to step 1, where you lined up the ruler with the bottom of your paper. I'll switch it to this way so you can see the alley better. Okay, so if I put mine here, that's a fairly wide alley, like a car. It might be more like a street because a car could turn down in there. I could do a narrow one. Either way, up to you. But line this up flush with the bottom. Start at your sidewalk and draw however tall you want your building. Okay. And then you draw the top and the bottom of your building, just like we did here. So line it up with the edge again. Line this up. Line that up. You can't draw over top of your building, so I have to stop. I ran into that building, so I gotta stop there. The top of this one, it's lined up here. This is there, however wide I want it. I think I'll go a little smaller. So remember, things shrink as they get farther away from you. So if this is a pretty big rectangle, that would be a gigantic building. Line up the edge to go straight down. But you have to stop when you run into something. Okay? That corner's connected. We can't do that one because we'd run into our building right away. Connect the top two corners. If you get close to the horizon line, your lines get to be closer and closer and less of an angle. Okay, then the next one I can use this for, slide it along. Remember, if you're not sure, take your ruler and butt it up next to your triangle and see if it is hitting parallel or not. Okay, so I'm gonna say right there for mine. Draw on the side, the top. Okay, erase. Okay, we've got that. Okay, so the next thing to do is add some details. One way to make this look like an alley would be to shade it a little bit. Maybe that building is casting a shadow. You could color the whole thing in, or maybe it's just really dark on that side and gets lighter over here. It depends on where you're deciding your sun is. So if this is pretty dark, the sun's coming from the side. But that'll make it look more like an alley there. Okay, doors and windows. Definitely you need a way into these buildings. The doors and the windows are basically a smaller version of the side you're putting them on. So if I'm going to put a door on this side, this is just a plain old rectangle. Lines that are straight up and straight over. So that's what my door would be. I'm going to pretend this is kind of like a garage door. So straight up, flush with the edge. I'm going to go straight up. Straight over. This is a giant door because remember, again, I'm making a garage door. So a lot of times garage doors have these lines in them. So I'll go ahead and put these lines in them too. So there's my garage door. Put those in. And so I'd have a garage door. If it's on one of these sides, see these sides are slanted. They're going straight up and these lines go towards the point. So your door would be the same way. Straight up. The top of your door needs to slant towards this point, so your ruler needs to hit the point. Draw how wide you want your door. And then straight down, so make sure this is flush with the edge. This is going to be a double door, so I'm going to put another line in. You can put a little handle. Okay, one more time in case that wasn't quite clear. So the door or the window is just a smaller version of wherever you're putting it. So this is a nice even rectangle. So if you're putting a door, it's going to go straight up, straight over, straight down. Just like this goes straight up, straight over, straight down. This one goes straight up, but it doesn't go straight over, it goes towards the point. So if you're doing a door, straight up, so line it up, it's going to go straight up. The top of the door needs to go toward the point, just like the top of the building went to the point. And then the side of the door goes straight down. Check that you've lined that up. Okay, put a little doorknob. Windows are the same thing. If I want a window on this side, this is just a plain old rectangle. So the window would be a plain old square rectangle. Keep using the sides of your paper to make sure it's straight. Straight down. And straight over. Okay, so if it's a little off, like that was, just use your ruler and get it lined up. Okay, there we go. And then I can put a couple other lines in here. Okay, if it's on a side, same thing. Straight up and down, line up your ruler wherever you want your window. The bottom and top, just like that side of the building, slant toward the vanishing point. And then the lines, the sides go straight up and down. Okay. Same thing if you want a title on your building. If it's on this side, you can write it normal. But if it's on this side, it would slant. So it's a good idea if you're putting it on that. Find your vanishing point and draw on a really light line. A couple of them. And your words are going to fit in between this line. So if you had an art store, it's going to slant and fit in these lines. Okay, if you have some other more detailed questions, like you want a different kind of roof or something, let me know and I'll be happy to help you. I gotta adjust this a little bit straight up and down. I'll just quickly add in a pointed roof here, but that should be a good start for you. Make sure you give a door into every building. Windows are a good touch for every building. If you wanted a pointed roof, basically put a dot up where you're going to want your point.